Everyone, I'm Angelo. I've been homeless in Northern Virginia for 7 weeks now, and I've noticed since I've gone homeless how much people don't like poor people. I don't mean I've been mistreated, because I haven't really. And I know it's always kind of been an American thing to demonize poor people as lazy, stupid, somehow worth less than others. It's been American policies to make people poor, keep them poor, and then to make them hated for being poor and make them hate themselves for being poor. Like they should have just worked harder and then they'd make more money. So the title of this video is, do you value people based on how much money they make? Or something like that. I'll think of a short title. But do you judge people based on how much money they make? Because I notice a lot of people, it seems to be embedded in their values that if you make a lot of money, it's because you're worth more as a person. Now, there's a practical element to that, sure. Like your life may be more connected to a lot of other people's lives and money and all kinds of stuff on a practical level. Like more stuff may be, like you may be involved in just more things generally. Like say if you're a CEO or a business person who's, got a staff, or even if you just have your own business, you're a sole proprietor and you just have a lot of stuff going on. That's just the practical element. But there's this aspect that people view in terms of you are a better person because you make more money, or you're somehow lesser because you make less. Even if you don't desire the positions that make more money, even if on a societal level, positions and things that people make and skills they have aren't valued the same as some other skills, even though that could easily all change or be reversed, they somehow think that it almost offends them. Like their values hinge upon you making money and therefore you're a worthy person. I've noticed that, and I used to hold on to that view a lot, and I always sort of, have to stop and question my own judgment and make sure, I don't hang on to vestiges of that view, and making sure I don't have any latent judgment in myself of others. Now, people seem to just really value working for high-paying jobs and don't seem to have much regard for, is the job worthwhile? Does it make you a worthwhile person just because somebody else values you at a certain rate? What would it mean for someone if, say, like in my case, I've worked as a bouncer for about 5 years. Some bars I've worked at, they paid $10 an hour. You had to clock in. If it snowed, they would close early, and so I'd be working maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then I'd have to clock out. They wouldn't even let me be clocked in for the rest of the night. I have to drive home 5 miles an hour behind snow plows, and so it's like my whole night is lost, basically, but I still don't get paid for the whole night. Whereas some employers, like my employer now, pays much better, and I don't have to clock in. It's not like I'm treated like a kid who has to be looked after. I'm sort of my own boss in a sense. We don't have annoying team building exercises and performance reviews. No, we're just treated like adults. If we want to switch shifts or whatever, I just talk to my coworker and just let my employer know, like, hey, I'm off. I'm just my coworker's working for me this one night, so she knows how to adjust my pay. That's it. But what is it about the one job that somehow, like, if I was making less money, I'm somehow less worthy? Or I'm more worthy now? What if my current job cut me back? They used to work me less hours at my current job. I was making much less money. I was working like half the shifts I am now. Would that mean somehow I'm worth less? You see how ridiculous the math is of that. There are people who, the way it's sort of like, there's a systemic level. I'm going to walk over here on my balcony of wisdom, where people who make it up corporate hierarchies, you can see like studies of this, tend to be kind of psychopathic. doesn't mean they're a bad person per se. It means those qualities are what gets people ahead. Being able to maneuver people against each other, being able to make people seek your approval, and then make them fear your anger. And so a lot of bosses are just crappy. They don't respect people. They don't understand what it's like to have to live below your trying to get away from the traffic noise, to make money that doesn't pay for everything you need, to not have the means necessary to pay your bills, to have to work when you're sick, to have to work when you've got family emergencies. I had one boss, I remember, he was an abusive jerk when I was working at a movie theater. For him, it was nothing, like, to just be nasty to someone. And for them to be nasty back if they were his boss. See, he was the general manager, and the district manager would come by, 2 white guys, and they were just used to it. And here's the mentality I got. It's like, oh, maybe there's an aspect to that I'm just supposed to be okay with. And I bought into a lot of those kind of myths. Even though I wouldn't go as far as him. Like, I remember him saying he saw a homeless person on the street, and he was just ranting at me saying, well, stop being homeless. And I think, I'd like to think in my head, even then, because I was a conservative back then, real chauvinist conservative, that I thought, well, I wouldn't go that far. That's kind of mean, you know, that's rude. But yes, I agreed with the general sentiment, just get a job and work. I had no clue. Now, the irony was, I believe that, but I had no clue what it was like to be homeless. And even now, I'm like the top 1% of homeless people, because I have a job. Well, I don't know, actually. Maybe I don't know if that's totally true, but I have a job. I make enough money to get by. I'm slowly paying down my bills, very, very slowly. And I'm doing all right. Like, I have a place to shower. I can sleep in my car comfortably. So I'm living fairly comfortably. As far as being homeless goes, like, I have it really good. Oh, what was with my pronunciation there? But that was my boss's values, and that's just kind of like, when it's so pervasive, it's such a myth across the media and movies, and it's almost like we portray it like, if you're a good person, you'll be rich. That's how, like, churches almost are set up. Like, to make you believe that, like, if you're going through bad things in life, it's because you're being punished. It's the universe conspiring to punish you for bad things. And if you're doing well, it means good things. Now that I've been around, you know, more rich people, and I can see there's a mix of, they're very nice, very modest, very friendly rich people. And there are ones who just, like, the disdain comes off them for other people. Like, why are you around me? I don't want you around me. Okay, it's good to hear from you. Like, they know how to lie just enough to pretend like they like you, but not enough. Like, they no matter what, they're never going to get you to think that they actually can tolerate you. Seen this around, especially Tyson's Corner, McLean. Rich area. That's an area around here. Tyson's Corner is a mall. It's the 6th largest shopping center in America. It's basically like 2 giant malls in one. A lot of rich shops there. A lot of rich people there. I used to work around there. A lot of ordinary people too, just trying to get by. But you see how it does something to someone, or somehow, like, people who don't have a tolerance for others, I think a lot just have disdain for people. I've met people working different jobs who just, like, they don't want to show any like cracks in their armor, any vulnerability where they have to regard someone else's humanity. It's like, make way, I deserve everything I get. I'm a person who just gets what they want. I deserve everything I have. And so any problem I have now, it's going to be the biggest problem I have to face. And I'll make it like a war with you to get what I want. I saw one person go into 7-Eleven, and this is unbelievable because it happened in Annandale. I wanted to say, like, you're in Annandale. You don't get this kind of treatment here. Who told the person working the register, hand me my change in my hand. And this person was so insistent on that, and Fortunately, thank goodness the guy wasn't giving into it. And this person kept saying, hand me the change in my hand, hand it in my hand. The person was like playing dumb or something. Or so it was funny to see, and I just walked out. But really, I should have said something like, hey, they're not your servant. And plus, you're in Annandale. You should know, like, that you decided to be in Annandale. You don't get royal treatment while you're here. Like, we all just have to make the best of living in Annandale. That's it. There's no big prize for living here. Like, oh, you made it. You're at the top. Not that you should disrespect people ever. And hey, there's people of every, income level who are, nice people, rude people, selfish, all different kinds. But some people have that real chauvinist mentality, and that doesn't make you a better person than anyone else. To think like, I'm entitled to, I deserve this. I don't deal with people like you who don't give me exactly what I want. It's very inconvenient for me to not be able to get exactly what I want right now. Back to my point. So, do you judge people based on how much money they have? It's a myth in this country that we tend to think the world's fair, it's a meritocracy, and it's just coincidence that certain people get to the top. It's usually white men, that they run corporations, that they are in government, that we've had almost all white male presidents. That's not representative of this country. In fact, it belies a point of the cruelty and atrocities that white men have inflicted on this country, and the lie that a lot of us are told that, oh no, they earned where they are, and if you want to be like them, if you want to be successful, you can join them too. Even though as much as you work and as hard as you try, you will never be welcomed among them. You will never be liked among them. And this serves to overlook the atrocities committed by them on an institutional-wide level. Look up Black Wall Street. If people are for meritocracy in this country, and if they're just for working hard and making money and being successful, why was Black Wall Street destroyed? Why was an atrocity committed against them? What's redlining? Why are black people shut out of homes? Why is it acceptable to discriminate on against people based on their name if they don't have an Anglo-sounding name? I could go on all day. Why do people like Eric Prince and Betsy DeVos have millions, if not billions of dollars? They have billion-dollar families, and their job basically seems to be to inflict cruelty. Eric Prince with his war contractor group that go around killing people. They've been killing people around the world and working with governments to do all kinds of dirty things around the world. And Betsy DeVos, who seems to believe there's no amount of repression among people in schools as far as not being able to get representation if they're not white and not male, and not get legal help if they've been abused by someone or assaulted, not being able to have their rights respected if they're transgender. Ugly cruelty. And what does all this have to do with whether you're a good person or not? None of this makes you a better person. In fact, if your question to people is, well, why didn't you get a job? Why didn't you learn to make more money? Why don't you work harder? The question for you is, why didn't you become a better person? Why didn't you work on yourself? Why don't you go and make yourself well when you're obviously so unwell, when people offend your notion of who's worthy based on how much money they make? Why'd you get such bad values? It didn't cost you anything to be a better person. All you had to do was work on yourself, learn something, read some books, listen to other people's experiences. And you know how I get it? I was that white male chauvinist too. And I always, want to make sure, like, I check, those latent feelings I have in myself from when I was that person, because it came naturally to me. And so it's always an eye-opening experience. By the way, it's much a better way of living when you can just listen. I know I'm just talking right now in video, but I'm reflecting on a lot I've listened to, and it's good to just listen. It's much better for you to listen to people and hear experiences that you ignored. And that was my problem for a long time. And I always, again, struggle with that. And like, I'm always, uninformed of a lot of things. And I always see things, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know this was an experience people had. So that's what the theme of this video is why don't you get your priorities straight? What is it about you that you believe that a person's worth is based on what, on a societal level, people decide their worth is? How about you question what's wrong with a society that doesn't value people, like if they're dark-skinned, if they're immigrants, if they don't conform to heteronormative, gender standards, if they don't, if they're women, if they're poor. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you get yourself worked on? And why don't you question what's wrong with a country and what's wrong with a world that judges people for not being conformative? Is that the correct word? For not conforming to a TV image, a cutout of what's a good person. And by the way, being away from TV for a long time, like in Annandale, I didn't have TV. And I had TV at my house in Arlington, but I didn't watch much of it. I hated commercials. And especially now, I don't have TV. Once in a while when I see commercials, like if I'm at a bar or a restaurant or something, it's so disgusting seeing the image of like these Lexus commercials where it's a rich family getting together under fireworks, and there's a big Lexus SUV that's a gift to someone, and everyone's doing great and life is awesome. All I can think that the message of that commercial is, be rich. That's all it is, hey, you, be rich. Make money. We know some people who make lots of money are horrible people. I mentioned Eric Prince, Betsy DeVos, Donald Trump, Bill and Hillary Clinton. They're awful people. Hillary Clinton had slaves, prison slaves, working for her at her house. She doesn't regard people's humanity. She worked to bomb people around the world. She supported the Iraq War. Oh, and then she said, oh, it was a mistake. I regretted it. Oops. Do-over. Starting now, I'm trustworthy. So it's not just Republicans. Democrats buy into it as well. And Hillary Clinton can say, like, well, she believed the vote to authorize war in Iraq. I was misled. I didn't really know it was a vote for war. She did. She argued for it. But also, she argued that, well, we were misled into believing they had weapons of mass destruction. She knew better. She could have known better if she wanted to. Anyways, point is, we're killing a lot of poor people around the world and spending tons of money doing it to enrich a few people. And then we look at those rich people and say, well, if you want to be like them, work hard. I say there's nothing aspirational about those kind of people. There's a problem with how we value people and what they have to give. We should be valuing, artists a lot more, community organizers, therapists, people who actually help build up others, the common, regular workers, retail workers. If you believe that people should just make more money, well, why isn't it the employer's fault that they're not paying them more? Why is Jeff Bezos finally giving in to paying people $15 an hour at Amazon, often working in torturous conditions, not being able to go to the bathroom when they want to, and then taking away their stock options and taking away other benefits and not letting them work full time? He made supposedly $36 billion last year. He could pay him more if he wanted to. It's just selfishness. It's greed, because even if he's just concerned about making money and having a great image, he could be the most beloved man in the world if he would pay his employees really well. Think about it. He'd be changing whole communities, changing people's livelihoods, helping their families. People would absolutely love him. And he must know that on some level. He's a smart guy. But no, why? He's concerned with his, ultra high-tech, futuristic world. He's concerned with living forever. By the way, that's a true thing. Like he's trying to find cures to aging. Anyways, this video is going on long, but check yourself. Why do you think people are worth what they get paid? What does it say about how we value people when we pay them so little? When wages are barely going up, but housing costs are going up multiple times over. thanks for watching, everybody. Subscribe for more content. Being homeless in Northern Virginia, I doubt I'm going to get a home anytime soon. And keep watching for more.